Welcome to the Advertising Forum. This is episode 1 of our new SMB series, sponsored by Vibe. Go to vibe.co to learn more.
Today we have Justin Rankin, the CMO of Lion Panda, with us to spotlight a client's POV, specifically as it relates to buying connected TV. Justin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Of course. Justin, can you give us a little bit of information on what it is that your company does and what inspired you to explore CTV advertising?
Absolutely. So we are a full-scale marketing development company. And what we were always looking for are new avenues for a lot of our in-home service professionals to kind of reach their audience. And Vibe kind of, popped up a few times. And we're like, this makes sense at the surface level. And we dove in.
So what were you doing before you started working with Vibe? What were some of the struggles that you had in reaching your audience for yourself and for your clients?
For us, it's saturation. So we have these big saturation points when it comes to traditional social media, or saturation when it comes to Google local service ads, and even some of the, the more traditional means, which are like TV, radio. We felt like we're heavily saturated. So then when that happens for us, we start seeing that cost per lead for our client base go up. And so we started looking for alternatives, especially after some of the new things we've seen in the market over the last year, 2 years.
You have a lot of options in the market to pick from. You mentioned a couple of them just in your response to last question. What was it about Vibe's overall CTV offering that made you go with them rather than somebody else's advertising platform or channels?
This is a great one, right? So Vibe does something that nobody else does, right? It brings you the power of TV. So you have that reachability, a captive audience, but you now have the targeting and the trackability of something like Google or Facebook with that online tracking and targeting. It's made things so accessible for our clients. And then the interfaces are so easy for us to actually integrate with. So we can show them in live time kind of what's happening on their account. And for us, that is huge. We're big proponents of analytics and making sure that our customers are up to date in live time.
All right, Justin. So as you are building out your shop and your agency, you've got clients all across the spectrum. Before we started recording, you were telling us about some of them. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about your agency and all the different kinds of SMBs you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, all across the spectrum. I have high-end appliances, like companies. I have roofers, windows, doors. We have a really famous pizza chain that everyone would know the name of if I said it. We have a Renaissance fair. Like if you dream it, we're touching it in the small business community, as well as we do on the development side. We handle a lot of large scale companies as well, which would be some everyday names in the pharma and pharma distribution side of things. So we are literally touching a little bit of everything in the small business community for sure.
So when you're working across the gamut of these, several dozen different kinds of SMBs, walk us through your experience of how you're setting up campaigns with a platform like Vibe. What are you doing? How are your hands on keys? Tell us about the experience.
Yeah, so I handle a lot of creative on the side of the business. And one thing that we wanted to do with Vibe is because of the affordability and the reachability of Vibe, let's push the limits of creativity here. Let's be a little edgier. Let's do a little bit of something because we can change it quickly, right? So a TV spot runs, we're under confinement of that spot for a long period of time to make it make sense. But having in-house videographers and in-house creative team, we can produce some more edgy pieces of content, some more boundary pushing pieces of content and run across Vibe. And we've kind of utilized Vibe for that as well as the other pieces. So if they have this weird idea, hey, let's run this, and it's always let's table it, let's think about it. With Vibe, it's run it. Worst case scenario, we shut it down in 2 weeks, we get a new piece of content up and we see how that does. And that's a huge benefit that Vibe brings to the market with connected TV that we've never had before. So we have an appliance company that's talking about the 5 top reasons not to buy something and did a little tongue in cheek and they had a lot of fun with it. Typically, you're going to be questioning if you should bring negative attention to something, but run it, see how it goes. And it was super receptive. Everything we've heard from them is look, every person that walks in this door, they saw the commercial, right? They saw Samantha out in front, having a lot of fun, tongue in cheek. So we're getting that feedback from a lot of our client base using Vibe is hey, we were a little skeptical in the beginning because we'd never heard of this platform. We didn't quite understand it. And then it was now it's more up our spend, increase it. Let's get new creative out there.
More. I love this. So you're essentially going
for sure,
doing more testing, learning, and there's a lot of measurement and just trying new things, throwing against the wall. Help our audience understand a bit more in terms of what components are you measuring or testing when it comes to the creative? Are you looking for different SMBs? Are you looking for leads? Are you looking for brand awareness? What are you tracking in terms of conversions?
That's a great question because we're doing all of it, right? So depending on the client base, so we have like with the appliance company, we have an integration piece set up to a foot traffic counter, right? So what are we doing? How much foot traffic are we actually generating through Vibe for that appliance company? For a couple of our roofers, it's direct lead gen. Like, what's our click through? How many people are filling forms? You using the links to call, those type of things. And then there are some of our companies where like, hey, just throw a big budget into brand awareness. We don't really need to see anything outside of impressions. How many people are we touching? What do the impression rates look like? And is it, worth it? And I mean, when you look at the overall cost per impression on Vibe, the answer is always yes. It's been like targeted impressions at, a lot of times we're like at 2 cents or below. It's been insane for us. Like, it's just been such a great weapon to have, in our reserve there.
So what are some lessons or overall feedback testimonials that you would provide to give to other small and mid-sized businesses that are looking to dip their toes in the water when it comes to using a fast-paced platform, using a CTV platform like a Vibe.co?
If you're like really starting to branch into that advertising piece, that $50 a day is so cheap out here. Like, the minimum requirement for Vibe in comparison to a lot of the major platforms is insanely cheap, right? Like, if I take $50 a day and put it in Google, I might as well just throw it in a dumpster, catch it on fire. If I do it with Meta, same thing. It's just, that's not going to move the needle. TV, we're talking about $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for a couple month contract. And so it's such a great place to test new concepts, new creative. And I mean, honestly, our ROAS here, our return on advertising spend here has been fantastic, better than any other platform we've had over the last 6 months.
That's a very strong testimonial. Obviously, this is sponsored content, but the goal of these conversations are not complete, full. It's to have transparent, based discussions about your experiences, about just how you've gone through and vetted other platforms, about just being an SMB, working with other SMBs, being a builder, being a proprietor, and growing all these different companies that are underneath your agency that you're trying to bolster up. And so to hear this kind of feedback about how you're able to move fast and get shit done is pretty inspiring from an outsider looking in. How do you see your partnership with a company like Vibe evolving over time? And what role do you think CTV is going to play in your long-term marketing strategy?
It was like an add-on service for us, right? For the first few months we had it, it's like, oh yeah, that's down there. We can do that too. And now it's becoming a focal piece of one of our offerings. It's really aligned itself, like where I would say you have like, Google search engine, then you have social media, and then now, and if you want, Vibe has now made it in that top 3, so it's not standing alone as 2. When it comes to like, yeah, it's been crazy. And non-sponsored wise, right? Like you talked about it being sponsored. I have a blog. I've posted about the impact of Vibe. I don't know how many times on the blog, just so without any sponsorship behind it, because it's been so impactful. And I want to reach more of our audience to kind of let them know, like, this is available out there. You guys have no idea. It's so fresh, so new. The time's now to be striking on this thing, because people are going to get, they're going to get hip to Vibe. And then right now you can be one of the early adapters and kind of, go from there.
Kudos to you, Justin. This was a really great discussion. We appreciate it.
No.
Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you being here. And thank you to Vibe, our sponsors of the SMB series. Justin, we're really looking forward to hearing more about your growth and success. So thanks again for being here today.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Justin.